presentation is titled A Message from the Pleiadians. Danny is a counsellor, an author and presenter. He's worked in this field for over 25 years. He's presented in 6 countries. He's appeared on Australian Story, Today Tonight, Current Affair. He's featured both in print media and has conducted radio interviews in Australia, USA and Europe. He's a Psych K practitioner, which is a combination of psychology and kinesiology. He's published 3 books that are available on Amazon, the third of which has just been published just recently, like a month or so ago. Danny's a YouTube sensation. His YouTube channel is called Path to Ascension, which has had over 5 million views. He's got a very profound prophetic message to deliver today. I'm really excited to hear this. He's been around for a long time. Danny has a deep discernment in all things in regard to the shift, geopolitics, all those issues. He's across all of them. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he'll be sharing you today his message from the Pleiadians. Please make welcome Danny Searle.
And if everyone isn't sure, every single person in this room is here because you've already started the shift, right? Excellent. So as Anthony said, I've been doing this for quite some time. And the message that I'm going to be talking about today actually came way back in 1998. And so it's been, I see it like a big snowball getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So we're heading to the Pleiadians. In case you don't know where it is, it's a star constellation about 400 light years from Earth. That sounds like a lot, but it's not in astronomical terms. Sometimes called the Seven Sisters because we can see 7 stars from Earth, but there's actually a lot more, as you can see, in the cluster. So of course, when we're talking about messages and things like that, distance has absolutely no relevance whatsoever. That said, so there's the Pleiadians. That said, there's a lot of misconceptions and understanding of what the Pleiadians are, who they are, what they look like. So that's what I want to sort of cover first. Okay. So first of all, the Pleiadians are interdimensional beings. One of the funny things is only a month or 2 ago I was talking to someone and they said to me, oh, you're a contact, like an alien contact person. I was like, really? Oh, first time I thought of it like that. I don't see myself as an alien contact as such, because you have to understand, I've had like psychic abilities, if you want to call that. I was the original kid that saw dead people, when I was 6 years old, but they're not all ugly and horrible. They're actually happy, smiling, and in their 30s sort of thing, looking really good. Well, they are. So I've had a lot of different experiences over the years. So I see myself more as a spiritual person than a UFO person as such, although I know a lot about the aliens and the UFOs and things. So when I'm talking about Pleiadians, I'm talking more from a spiritual point of view, if you know what I mean. Now that said, they did incarnate or manifest into the 3rd dimension because they're interdimensional beings, and they live on everywhere from the 5th dimension right up to the 11th dimension, because just like us, they're in different stages of spiritual evolution. So they have to use the ones from the 5th dimension to come down to talk to us in the 3rd dimension. And they can't stay very long either, because think of it like this: if you were to jump in a pool and hold your nose, how long can you last underwater at depth? Not very long, right? 3 minutes. It's the same with them. When you come from the 5th dimension down to the 3rd dimension, it's like going into a sewer pit from their point of view. The vibration here is so low, so they can't stay very long. So as I said, they exist there. Right, they're about 1.5 meters taller than us. They're quite tall and skinny. They glow with a silver golden aura around them. It's visible. Unlike humans, we've all got auras, but theirs, you can actually see it all the time. They speak telepathically. They don't use their vocal cords as such. The skin appears chalk white, and what's interesting is their eyes go from violet to mauve to gold, depending on their spiritual evolution, how high up the food chain they are, sort of thing. And they have very fine straight hair. So that picture there is a very good representation. They look young all the time, even though they're ancient. And there's no difference really in the sexes. They're androgynous. So the 2 that I spoke to, if you asked me are they male or female, I couldn't tell you, to be honest. I don't know. They've got a very strong feminine energy, but then they also have a very strong masculine as well. So what's our connection to them? Well, technically they're our cousins. When I say our, like the humans, they're technically the humans' cousins. I can't get into it now, but humans decided to do a big experiment a long time ago to travel from the 11th dimension down to the 3rd dimension. These guys said, well, we'll look out for you, we'll help you, we'll guide you, we'll make sure you don't get off track. So that's our connection to them. And they literally helped us de-evolve into the 3rd dimension. So this is our family tree. I don't know if you're familiar with this. Lyrians. We all come from the Lyrian area. You can see over there Pleiadians. Under the Pleiadians, it includes the Sirians, the Vegans, and the Acturians. That's basically the light workers side of the family tree. If you've ever thought that you don't belong to Earth, that you feel like you come from somewhere else, good chance is you're coming from one of those particular groups there, the Sirians, Vegans, Acturians, or Pleiadians. Okay, because there's a lot of them here now to help with this shift. We come over to the next is the red-headed race. And these are the giants. This is where you may have heard of the Anunnaki. That's where they come from. The Tuatha, which are really just Anunnaki, and the Nordics and the Blondes that people talk about. They all come from that red-headed giant race. Next is Ptah. That's where the human soul group comes from. We talk about soul groups and things like that. The ones that came from the 11th dimension, that's Ptah. And that's the black-headed race. That's where humans come from. And then, of course, there's 2 other groups. Oops, oh, we missed that one. The birds, the bird people, yeah, they're real. And the feline race, or cat people. Again, their consciousness sometimes incarnates into human bodies for different experiences, but not that common. So the Pleiadians in history, just a quick, I don't know how much you guys know about the Anunnaki and the Sumerian text and blah, 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 so I'm just going to give you a really, really quick rundown. Basically, the Anunnaki were on Earth, they had a civilization, they knew that it was going to get wiped out by a massive flood, right, because they were monitoring it from a satellite in space that was looking at the South Pole. The South Pole was about to break off, create a world tsunami, which you know as the flood of the Bible. So just before they were ready to evacuate, this really strange character comes down called Galzu, and he was very tall. This is directly from the Sumerian text, by the way. I've just brought it up to the common tongue of today, but this is basically straight from it. And they said he was white-haired, he was very tall even for an Anunnaki, and he had mauve eyes, something that even the Anunnaki thought was unusual. And he claimed to be an emissary of their father, who was the king. Right, and he came down with a message to these 3 people known as Enki, Enlil and Ninmar. They were brother and sister. So Enki was the guy, he's the father of humanity really, he created modern humans. Ninmar helped him, that's his sister, half-sister, and Enlil, who was the boss. He was basically the commander of Earth Base. They were all hoping, because Nibiru comes through our solar system every 3,600 years, right? So they'd been on Earth for a long time, they were sick of Earth, they wanted to go home, they were hoping they could go home, and their plan was that they were just going to ditch Earth, go back to Nibiru and live happily ever after, but Gelzu came down and said, nah, sorry, plan has changed. You now have to orbit in a spaceship around Earth, wait for the calamities to finish, then you have to come back down and rebuild it. And they were not happy about that. So, because the thing is, basically, I haven't got time to go into it, but Enlil wanted all the humans dead. He was sick of it, long story. So he said, don't anyone tell the humans what's going to happen, right? We're just going to go off planet, let them die, and then we'll come back and pick up the pieces. But because Enki was the creator of humans, he was like, oh, I can't do that, they're my children, sort of thing. So he has this really bizarre dream state, what we would today call lucid dreaming, and our good old mate Gelzu turns up and he gives him a message. And he basically gives him the plan to build an ark, to build a submersible ship to save humanity and to save all life on Earth in that area. because basically the message was that humans or mankind was to inherit the earth, because this was part of that big experiment I'm talking about, and the Pleiadians wanted to use the human body to put souls into it. Long story, I've written books about it, you can find out later. So Enki's having this dream, and in the dream Galzu hands him a tablet. And then the funny thing is, Enki wakes up, as he's walking across the room, he stubs his toe on something, he looks down, he picks it up, it's the tablet that was in his dream, right? And what was on that tablet, as I said, was the plans to build an ark. Now, Enki's son was Zayasudra, but you all know him as Noah, right? Noah of the Bible. The Bible story of Noah's Ark is a really, really truncated version of the full Sumerian version. They didn't get every animal in the world. What they did, Enki's, one of his sons, Nigashita, who was a brilliant scientist, he collected DNA samples with his wife, and they collected them all, and they could fit them all into a box this big, right? All the DNA from all the plants and animals and everything. They talk about it in the text. And Nigashita actually helped Noah, or Zayasudra, to pilot the boat. So as I said, you might scoff at, oh, how could the Anunnaki monitor from space? They need a big satellite. They did have a big satellite. And that big satellite is still in orbit, because even after they left the Earth for good, they left it there because they couldn't very well tow it with them. Now, NASA's known all about it since the 1950s. They picked up the radio signals. It still sends out a weak radio signal. So they've been investigating it, and we got pictures of it. There you go. It's called the Black Knight satellite. That is an Anunnaki satellite. Still in space today. And as I said, that they were looking for the ice sheet was going to snap off, and it's happening again. This is in the news right now. If you're not aware, there's a massive chunk of the South Pole about to snap off. Exactly what happened 11,000 years ago. So also in history, whenever you read in the Bible or Quran or other holy books and things like that, and they talk about messengers from heaven or angels and things like that, 9 times out of 10 it's a Pleiadian, usually. Okay, and so then in 1998 they visited me, because they give messages to everyone. So basically there's 2 pictures they showed me. So I'm sitting at my computer. I was in my last final year. I was doing my honours degree in psychology. And so I'm up late at night, as I am, writing up a thesis. And next thing, my spirit guide came through, who I've had contact with most of my life. And when I say come through, I'm not hearing weird voices in my head. He physically manifests in the room. Not completely, but from there down. And he came through and he was very rushed, which is unusual for a spirit guide. And he just said, look, there's some beings coming through, they've got an important message, don't ask any questions, just sit there, shut up and listen. And that's what I did. Yeah, which is unusual for them. So basically what the Pleiadians did, they said, look at your monitor, your TV, your computer monitor, and it started to roll like a movie, like I was watching a movie. But next thing, they had me in the movie like I was flying over. And I was seeing all these earthquakes and volcanoes, wild weather, wars, conflicts, breakdown in society, all this terrible, terrible stuff. And at first I was thinking, is this a nuclear war? And they said, no, even your nukes couldn't do this sort of damage, right? So that was scenario 1, and suddenly the picture changes. Now I'm floating over this beautiful, pristine Earth, just absolutely like before humans even existed. That's what it was like. It was like a brand new Earth, and beautiful landscapes everywhere. And there was all these little kids running around, and all of them, I could see their third eye open, even though they weren't physically, you could see it, but they were showing me that their third eye was open to represent that these are the new children of the new age. These are the future leaders of humanity. And that's what they were showing me. And the people were living like in the countryside. I guess you'd call it like a medieval existence, but they also had high-tech gadgets. They had free energy devices and flying machines and things like this. So it wasn't just living in the Stone Age. And of course they were intermingling with other strange alien, what we'd today call alien beings, okay? who were teaching them stuff. So it's basically what I've come to understand now, that they were showing me the new life in the fifth dimension, and that's what this whole shift is all about. So of course I always get asked, when's all this going to happen? I've been waiting since 1995, okay? So I'm asking that. The problem is, if you come from fifth dimension, you come from a place that time doesn't exist. Time was created specifically for this experiment in this hologram that we call the third dimension, right? Time doesn't exist anywhere else outside of that. So if time doesn't exist, how do you tell someone, let's have a meeting on Thursday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? You can't do it, right? But what they can do is they can show us signs to look out for, portents. The ancients understood this. That's how they dealt with messages, was with signs. So what are the signs? So this one specifically, I can remember the night I was doing a presentation about all this, about the return of Nibiru. It's going to heat up the centre of the earth, it's going to make it viscous, create a pole shift, blah, 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 blah. And I said, one of the signs that we're going to see is the coral is going to bleach. And this is back before anyone had heard of global warming and all that stuff, right? I had this young couple in the audience. The girl was there, she brought her boyfriend. He came up to me and abused me after the presentation and said, I'm a second year marine biologist and that's nonsense and there's no way that you could bleach the whole barrier reef and it's never going to happen and you should be ashamed of yourself. And, you know, I wish I could see him now. So basically, when I became aware of this, I went, holy moly, I've been sitting around for 10 years, 15 years, whatever, just doing stuff, but not really thinking this is off in the future somewhere, you know, I don't have to worry about it now. Suddenly that turns up on the ABC and I was like, oh my goodness, time to get cracking. And so the other things they talked about was all the earth changes and things we're seeing going on in the world at the moment. Now, if you're just sitting in your backyard, you don't really see what's, you know, you think, oh, every day is a sunny day or a rain today or whatever. It's not until you see it all summarised into one package, like Sign of the Times. This is a brilliant YouTube channel that produces this once every month. They do a summary of all the earth changes that are going on in the world. They also do alien sightings as well, like UFO sightings once every 3 months, I think they do that. And so I just summarised, just for June this year, you know, Yellowstone's having massive quakes. Ohio just announced they're having massive earthquake swarms at the moment as well. You know, all these wild weather, deaths, floods, Mount Everest step has collapsed, you know, Chile earthquake. Peru record rain. And of course our own Cyclone Debbie. So one of the things that they were saying was, you know, the sign to look for is you're going to start hearing reports. It's the worst flood, it's the worst heat wave, it's the worst blizzard, and that's exactly what we're hearing now. I don't tell you this to scare you, I'm telling you this to become informed. Right? We have to look at this from what I call the wise mind. And the wise mind doesn't have emotion involved. It just looks at it scientifically and goes, okay, I need to act on that. I probably passed it, but I don't know if you saw up there, there's even blizzards in Moscow in June. And in Moscow in June is summer, okay? And they're having snow blizzards, so that blows your whole global warming scam right out the window. There's also been a lot of animal die-offs and things like that, which is unfortunate, but it's all part of it. Fireballs. Why are we seeing so many fireballs? Because as this big planet comes through the solar system, it pushes out rocks and debris in front of it because of the gravity, and our gravity sucks it in. So that was one of the things they said to me to look out for. Asteroids. NASA have told us that asteroids this year alone are up 33%. You can look that up on the NASA website. 33% increase in asteroids. Other signs they said to look for was a breakdown in society. Are we seeing a breakdown in society at the moment? I think we are. People just... Oh, hang on. People sort of going crazy, and that is because it fits directly in with this... Oh, that's not going to do it. Sorry. It goes completely in with this whole energy shift. Those that can't resonate with the energy literally go insane, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. I'm not going to play the video, I don't think, but I don't know if you've heard of a drug called Flacker. Yeah, well, that's basically what it is. It's scary stuff. But it's not all bad. There's also good stuff happening, just as the message told me. It's two different versions of reality, right? I don't know if anyone's heard of this. It's just a new release called QT Pi. It's a sort of play on words, pi, the scientific thing. So this is not exactly a free energy device, but what it can do is amplify energy. So it can take your normal house energy, or a solar panel, and boost it by 400%. And it works on Tesla technology. It's really, really amazing. I saw a prototype of this working in England in 2014. They're now at the stage of approaching governments. They actually want to approach governments because they know if they don't, they'll just get shut down. So they're approaching governments. The idea is to go to a lot of third world smaller countries, get them all on board. Once they've got 100, 150 countries, that gives them a bit of clout then to go to the westernised industrial countries like the US, UK, and say, look, all these guys are on board, they're going to do it. If you don't get on board now, you're going to get left behind. It's, the word's out there. They can't shut it down. So it's a really, really exciting period, what's going on right now. And just some visions of what the planet would look like in the future. And of course, crystal children are being born now. I'm seeing more and more and more of them. It's not a new age mumbo jumbo. It's the real deal. I'm telling you, it really is real. It's always in the eyes. They've got this golden glow in their eyes. If you're able to see auras and things, you'll see it immediately. Most of those crystal children are not human, as in their soul is not human. Their soul comes from that Lyrian, that Pleiadian group that I was talking about. A lot of women are having miscarriages, or they have a baby that's born with disabilities and things like that and dies within the first 6 to 12 months. That's literally because these babies are from a different consciousness, and when they come into the human body, it's so restricting and it's so unfamiliar to them that they can't deal with it. They literally go, oh, I bit off more than I can chew. So they go directly to the fifth dimension. They're not dying and going back to spirit. They're going to the fifth dimension, and they're anchoring there for the parents, right? They're going to help those parents come through. So they're working like an anchor. So try not to see that as a really bad thing. There's been a massive increase in yoga, tai chi and qigong. Veganism, mindfulness has all gone mainstream now. If you had said that to me 10 years ago, I would have laughed in your face, but I'm telling you, it's happening. It's massive. And of course, extraterrestrials. 80% of the world now accept them, where in the past only 27% did. So why is all this happening? Well, it's what I call the shift, and why you're here this weekend, I guess. Okay, and so what is the shift? Look, it doesn't matter what you want to call it. Everyone agrees that something is going on right now, okay? And we're essentially going from the third dimension into a fifth dimension. And a dimension is not a place. It's a state of consciousness, okay? Basically, it's all about the old has to fall away as we come into the new. And that's why we're seeing all this chaos and wild weather and problems and things like that. And basically, yeah, my message is the sooner you get on board with it, the better. And I basically describe it as affecting people in three ways. First of all is the outer shift. So that's what's going on in the world at the moment. All corruption is starting to be brought out into the light. These pedophile rings and everything, they're all being brought out into the light. The mainstream media are losing credibility hand over fist, right? They're at an all-time low because they've just been a mouthpiece for the, whatever you want to call them, the globalists, New World Order, whatever. But there's millions now using the internet to pull together their resources. These food co-ops are popping up everywhere, where people in the street are using the footpath, they're using vacant blocks to grow food and to share it with everyone in the neighbourhood. That's just going global. And of course, global meditations and things, we're seeing again all over the world. And then just all the new technology that's coming out. Not all technology is evil, okay? Some technology is beneficial. It's usually a double-edged sword, as I call it. We can use it to benefit us, or we can use it to control people. We, on the light workers side, use it to get the message out to all the other light workers to say, you're not alone, you're not by yourself. That's the single most thing I get told. I talk to people from all over the world and they all say the same thing. I felt so alone. I didn't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. It's just amazing that I've got someone to talk to. And that's thanks to technology. The inner shift. So this is what's going on inside of all of us at the moment. Well, maybe not all of us, but some of us. And that carries out in different ways. But basically, old negative patterns have to go. It's not a question now, do you want them to go? They're saying they have to go, right? It's not an option anymore if you want to ascend. So a lot of people are experiencing relationship breakups, home life collapsing, leaving careers that they've been in for years, leaving old identities, and synchronicity as well, and spiritual experiences are happening much, much more rapidly now. And now, where we are now, I see this in what I call the transitional times, because it's not the end times like the fundamentalist Christians try and tell you. It's not the end times, it's the transitional times. It's like getting out of the pool and walking up onto the land. You're going from one state of existence to another. But it's not better or worse. Well, it's better, but it's not the end. It's not the end of anything. It's the beginning. So you're going to see chaos. You're going to see all this stuff going on because we're collapsing one basic dimension and moving into another one. So the other thing, of course, I'll just quickly touch on is people's health is failing everywhere at the moment. I'm hearing it from everyone. I'll just quickly go through them. Most of you guys are familiar with all this stuff. But yeah, so aches and pains. Everyone's getting these weird aches and pains. It's not, arthritis. It's something, exhaustion's a big one that people are experiencing. Flu-like symptoms, disruption in sleep patterns. I now can't sleep for more than 4 hours at a time. I wake up for 2 hours, go back to sleep for an hour, go and do another 6 hours. I'm all over the shop, I really am. But I don't fight it now, I just go with it. When my body says eat, I eat. When it says sleep, I sleep. And the inability to consume certain foods. It's not like everyone's deciding to become vegan because they're worried about the chickens or something. It's because they physically can't consume that heavy vibration anymore. Now, just on the record, I'm not a vegan. I'm not pushing veganism, but what I am saying is if you want to ascend, you have to eliminate all the heavy vibrations out of your diet, which includes meat and a lot of dairy products and things like that. So I don't care what you eat, I don't, right? When I eventually am finished doing my work, I will go to the Ascension path and then I will give up all that stuff. But for now, I don't. Right, and of course, a massive increase in UFO sightings as well. Probably running out of bit of time. Just quickly, there was a deal done way back in 1960 something with, you would have heard of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Right, the world was on the brink of disaster through a nuclear war. Some aliens came down. They basically went to Kennedy and Khrushchev and they said, look, if you guys don't blow each other ears, both those guys were out of power or dead, because the powers that be don't want this to happen. They want a nuclear war. So what are we seeing right now? We're seeing North Korea has got nukes, they're going to kill us, or Russia is going to kill us. It's all pantomime, it really is. They want a nuclear war because they don't want our alien brothers to come down. But the aliens are not coming to save us. No one's going to save us, right? They're coming to help us, assist us. So I like to explain it like, if I show you how to cook a cake and you learn how to cook the cake by yourself, I now come in and say, hey, I've got some extra tips for you. I can show you how to put some cream on top and some icing and add a few nuts, right? So I'm not doing it for you. You've learnt the fundamentals yourself. I'm just enhancing it. I'm just making it a little bit better, right? So that's what the aliens are coming for. Now, yes. Oh yeah, I knew I was going to get comments about this one. It's what I call the Trump effect. Now the first thing is, I am not cheerleading for Donald Trump. I don't care about Donald Trump. What I know about Donald Trump is he's the only man in the world at the moment that could get us out of this. Because you need a narcissist. You need someone with a thick skin. You need someone with resources. Can you imagine? I wouldn't last a week in Washington. I wouldn't. I'd just, you know, quite frankly go, bugger this, I'm out of here. But he doesn't. So, like him or hate him, it's not about Trump himself, it's about the ideal or the intent that he represents. And what does he represent to people? He represents a change to the establishment, right? Getting rid of the old and bringing in new, more truthful sort of stuff. So I like to see it as human consciousness is the compass and Trump is the needle. So wherever we point him is up to us. If we buy into this, let's blow up North Korea stuff, he'll blow up North Korea, right? And what happens then? It all goes down. But if we say, no, don't blow up North Korea, let's just look at prosperity and looking after people, that's where his needle will point. And again, it's part of the shift. What it has created is two different realities within humans. And I know this for a fact because I could watch a Donald Trump speech and think, oh, that was reasonable, that was okay. Then other people say, oh, he's a tyrant, he's Hitler, that's the worst speech I've ever heard in my life. And I'm like, you must have listened to something I didn't hear, I don't know. But then it occurred to me then that I'm in the shift. I'm moving forward. I hear one message, they're not in the shift, they're vibrating in a fear mentality and they're hearing what they vibrate at. They're hearing doom and gloom and horror. So if anything, that's what the Trump effect has done. It's created this divide in humanity, who's on board and who isn't. So it really is two versions of reality. And so it's what I call the fear-based reality and the love-based reality. So fear, remember back when I was talking about those earth changes and pole shifts and things like that? That's what they're going to experience because that's what they want. They want that experience. They want to learn that experience. We don't. We choose love. So we choose love. We don't experience earth changes. We don't experience all that. We experience the fifth dimension, right? But it does take work. It's not just going to happen. It's not just going to, you know, you're not going to wake up one day and suddenly be in the fifth dimension. And that's why I've written a book about it. I had no intention to write it and suddenly they said drop everything. And that's the one Anthony was talking about that just got published. So I give you all the lessons on how to do it. So basically, the real message of the Pleiadians was, you have a choice. Love or fear. Which one will you choose? And that's what they're asking. Which will you choose? And that's basically it. Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, we've got a couple of minutes. Has anyone got any questions for Danny?
That was very interesting, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a question. Why are we shifting from the third to the fifth? Where's the fourth dimension?
Yeah, we're sort of going in and out of the fourth dimension at the moment. So that's why, again, I didn't have time to get into it. We're actually back on our way to the 11th dimension. That's what we're doing. But we can't go directly from the 3rd to the 11th because it's like a scuba dive. If you come up too quick, your head explodes, right? That's what will happen. So we've got to take these steps. So what we're doing is we're going to the 5th dimension. After that's the 8th dimension. Then we go to the 11th dimension. But right now, those that are in the shift are experiencing the 4th dimension right now. And how that's occurring is, look, one of the things in my own life, I put some keys on a table, walk away, come back and they're gone. And no, I'm not going insane. They're gone, right? I go away, I come back an hour later, they're there again. Huh? Why? Because I've just shifted from the 4th to the 3rd dimension. When you shift in the 4th dimension, all man-made things, stuff like that, they go out of phase, they go out of sync, right? They're no longer there. because you're in a higher vibration. So think of it like a radio station. When you tune up on the radio, right? You go from this station up to this station. Does that station still exist? Is it still there? It does, but you're not focused on it, right? You go back, you're focused on it. Now you can hear it. Now I'm going to go up. Now I can hear this one. I can't hear that one. That's how dimensions work, right? Exactly like that. Yeah?
I've just got a question. You know, I get these sounds, like really high-pitched, it's almost like a noise in the background. It
Hum.
goes, what is that? Like a high-pitched hum or something like that?
It's a download.
It's like a...
It's a download.
Oh, is it?
It's coming directly from your higher self, what we call your higher self.
Okay.
And no offence, but what they're basically, you've been lagging behind, right? Look, we all do. Exactly. So what they're doing now is giving you a big data dump, right?
Okay.
Where you literally wake up and suddenly you know stuff and you think, hang on, where did that come from? I don't remember reading it, but suddenly you just start remembering things. That's something I wanted to say to people before. We talk about this fifth dimension and people say, oh, it sounds like fairyland, you know, it sounds like, but why have we all had the same shared experience? Why have we all remembered it, right? It can't just be in your head. It can't just be fantasy. We all resonate with that message, right? It's because it's a memory. We came from the fifth dimension to get here. Now we're going home. Right? That's why you're all remembering it. It's not some fairy tale fantasy, it's real.
How do you know the difference between tinnitus and a download?
Doctor will tell you that. Yeah, I don't know. I know from a humming sound or a high-pitched beep.
Yeah.
I think tinnitus is forever.
Okay.
It just does it all the time, where the downloads just do it maybe for 10 minutes, an hour, or something like that. Yeah. A lot of people get them in their sleep as well. They'll wake up and feel like they've been at work for a week, you know, like they had no rest, and that's why, because they're working on you. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah?
Are we going to need money in the fifth dimension?
No. No money, no religion. Yeah. No religion, no governments, no money. They're all constructs of the third dimension. No.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you, Danny.
Thanks, mate.